Imagine boarding your own private jet, a symbol of your empire, and settling into the luxurious first-class seat you've worked tirelessly for. Now picture the calm of your journey shattering when a flight attendant accuses you of being an imposter, someone who doesn't belong in this seat. What follows is a tense confrontation, an unjust ejection, and a shocking twist that will leave you questioning who is really in control. Welcome to the high-stakes world of billionaire business mogul Amelia Cross, where power, pride, and loyalty collide. What happens when someone challenges you on your own turf? Amelia is about to find out, and this fight for justice will take her further than she ever expected. Amelia Cross had always been a force to be reckoned with, a self-made billionaire. Known for her sharp business acumen and unwavering confidence, her latest acquisition, a state-of-the-art private jet, marked a new chapter in her life. Today was the maiden flight, a moment of celebration, and Amelia was eager to immerse herself in the luxury of the first-class cabin. She had meticulously planned every detail, from the business meetings awaiting her in New York to the peaceful moments she'd have aboard the jet. The airport greeted her as it always did, swift, respectful service, tailored to her high-profile status. As she passed through the security lines, the anticipation of the journey hung in the air. Stepping into the plush first-class lounge, she felt a sense of calm wash over her. The soft hum of the jet engines as she boarded offered a strange sense of security. She sank into her seat, the plush leather welcoming her like an old friend. Amelia knew this flight was more than just another business trip, it was a statement. This was her jet, and she was about to prove that no one could challenge her success. But as she settled in, a seemingly innocent request for her ticket would set off a chain of events that would shake her calm composure to its core. Amelia Cross had always been in control, but as the plane doors closed and the hum of the jet's engines filled the cabin, a sense of unease crept into her mind. She adjusted her seatbelt, pulled out her tablet, and prepared to dive into the day's meetings. This was her moment to focus, to lay the groundwork for deals that would change markets. The first-class cabin was her sanctuary, plush leather seats, impeccable service, and the quiet comfort of exclusivity. Amelia felt the weight of the world lift off her shoulders, if only for a few hours. But then, without warning, the serenity of the moment was shattered. A flight attendant approached her, an almost imperceptible tension in her posture. Amelia looked up, expecting a routine check, but instead, the attendant's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Excuse me, ma'am, may I see your ticket?" she asked, her tone tight. Amelia, momentarily thrown off guard, handed over her ticket. "I've already been cleared at the gate," she replied, keeping her voice calm but noticing the subtle edge of suspicion in the attendant's gaze. The attendant scanned the ticket, then looked Amelia over with obvious doubt. "This ticket is for first class. But, you don't look like someone who could afford it," the attendant muttered, as if questioning Amelia's very presence on the plane. A knot tightened in Amelia's stomach. She had grown used to respect. But this felt different. Was she being singled out? The tension in the air thickened as murmurs rippled through the cabin. Passengers sensing something was amiss. Amelia felt her pulse quicken as the flight attendant's eyes narrowed. A silent challenge in the air. "How do I know you're really who you say you are?" The question hung between them like an accusation. Amelia took a deep breath, her mind racing as she fought to maintain her composure. She wasn't a woman easily rattled. But this was absurd. She had already shown her ticket. She had done everything by the book. And yet, here she was, being scrutinized by a woman who clearly had no idea who she was dealing with. "I assure you, I can afford this ticket," Amelia said, her voice steady, though a flicker of annoyance crept into her tone. She reached into her bag and handed over her credentials, a gesture that should have ended the conversation right then and there. But the attendant only glanced at them, her face still skeptical. Amelia could feel the eyes of the other passengers on her, some curious, others clearly uncomfortable with the escalating tension. The air in the cabin had shifted, thick with anticipation. "You're not who you say you are," the attendant snapped, her voice now dripping with suspicion. Amelia's patience was wearing thin. "I've paid for this seat. This is my jet. This is my flight," she said, her words clipped but full of authority. The attendant seemed unmoved, as if Amelia's words meant nothing. Then, as if the situation couldn't get worse, the flight attendant returned with a security officer in tow. A chill ran down Amelia's spine. "We've received complaints," the officer said, his tone harsh. "We have reason to believe you're sitting in someone else's seat. You'll need to vacate immediately." Amelia's heart raced. This was madness. But it wasn't just madness, it was personal. The man who had boarded the plane and now stood next to her seat flashed a smug smile. "It really pays to have a girlfriend who's a flight attendant," he muttered, his voice dripping with condescension. "I only paid for an economy seat. And here I am, flying first class." His words stung, but Amelia refused to back down. She stood, her fists clenched, her calm exterior masking the fury that was building inside her. The seconds that followed felt like an eternity to Amelia as she was forcibly escorted off the plane. Her mind raced, trying to piece together how things had escalated so quickly. Her nerves were frayed, but her steely resolve remained unbroken. She knew she wasn't just fighting for her seat, she was fighting for respect. For the recognition of her accomplishments. The image of the man who had taken her seat, grinning smugly, lingered in her mind. "It really pays to have a girlfriend who's a flight attendant," he had said. His words ignited a fire within her. As she was led out onto the tarmac, Amelia didn't look back, her heart hammered in her chest. But she refused to show any weakness. Outside, she pulled out her phone, her fingers moving swiftly over the screen as she made a call. "Get me the officer in charge of security," she demanded. The call was brief, but the message was clear. Justice would be served. Back inside the plane, the captain's voice crackled over the intercom. "Attention all passengers on flight 1125. We are experiencing delays that will affect our departure time. Please bear with us while the technical issues are resolved." The words were met with murmurs of confusion and curiosity from the passengers. But Amelia's thoughts were already elsewhere. She had taken the first step toward reclaiming her dignity. And she wasn't going to stop until every single person who had wronged her faced the consequences. Moments later, the security officer who had removed her from the plane was summoned. He was questioned, his actions scrutinized, and within minutes, he was dismissed. Amelia's grip on her phone tightened as she watched the man walk away with his head hung low. He was no longer in control of the situation. Meanwhile, the flight attendant, oblivious to the storm brewing, sat next to her boyfriend, smugly enjoying the luxury of first class. Amelia's eyes narrowed. She could feel the tension in the air. But she didn't let it faze her. She had a plan in motion. Suddenly, a police officer appeared at the flight attendant's side. Amelia's lips curled into a small smile. The officer's voice was firm, unmistakable. "Are you Victoria Carter?" he asked. "You've been accused of forcibly ejecting a passenger named Amelia Cross from this plane. The same seat you're sitting in right now." The attendant's face drained of color as she stammered out an apology. Realizing the magnitude of her mistake, "I did it for my boyfriend," she murmured, as though that could justify her actions. But Amelia wasn't interested in excuses. Justice had a way of catching up with people. And today, it was catching up with her. The police officer escorted the flight attendant and her boyfriend off the plane, their heads hanging in defeat. Amelia watched from the terminal, a sense of satisfaction slowly washing over her. The world had turned, and now, she was in control. Minutes later, Amelia boarded the plane again, her seat waiting for her, pristine and untouched. The crew, having received new orders, stood at attention, acknowledging her presence. She didn't acknowledge them in return. She wasn't interested in their apologies, only in moving forward. The engines roared to life, and the intercom crackled once more. "Thank you for your patience," the captain's voice echoed. "We are now cleared for departure." Amelia settled back into her seat, a sense of calm enveloping her once again. This was her jet, her journey, and nothing, no one, could take that away. The world outside the plane seemed to fall away as she focused on the horizon ahead, ready to conquer whatever came next.